Hooray, hooray. Welcome, welcome. Here we are again, live streaming in the kitchen with Monica on the Dr. Cowan's Garden YouTube channel. I do hope that all of you come along and subscribe to the channel so that you can let your friends know that we're here every week on Thursday at this time. So, same time every week. It is 2:30 Eastern. I'm here for an hour and I'm here to, talk about food, talk about real food, talk about nourishing food, talk about kitchen tips, talk about all sorts of things and take your questions. So, I'm so happy to be here with all of you, and I am thrilled and grateful for the platform um, so that we can be talking about all these great things. So, hello, everyone that's showing up on the old live stream. Please do put your questions in the chat, and we will go from there. I will go from there. So last week we did a lot of little slides that I shared with you. This week it's no slides. I am just going to talk to you about this little subject, which means a lot to me. And I hope it'll be helpful to you also. So, what am I talking about today? Today's topic is plant foods versus animal foods, right? Plant foods versus animal foods and the current narrative, right? So this is a big topic. It's a big topic. We've been seeing it coming for, I don't know. It's 2026 now. Probably at least the last 25 years, maybe longer, maybe 35, maybe 45, right? Like this whole thing about how plants are better for you than animal foods are might have started in the 60s with the flower children. I'm a child of the 60s. In any case, might have started then when it became not politically correct to consume animal foods. That started as vegetarianism and now has progressed or digressed into veganism, which is absolutely no animal foods, right? So I want to talk about this because the human body thrives on some kind of animal foods. And yeah, it used to be that there were vegetarians who, and there still are, vegetarians that also consume dairy. Hopefully it's raw and it's cultured. I'm going to say raw and cultured. Yeah. So hopefully the dairy is raw and cultured, and perhaps they're having eggs and perhaps they're having some fish. And those things would serve you quite well as a vegetarian. Veganism is really a fast. It's a fast. There are no cultures in the world that eat no animal products. And there's a reason for that. And the reason for that is that plant foods are by nature cleansers and cleansing, and animal foods are by nature building. So we call them cleansers versus builders. And if you start thinking of it that way, you'll really get a sense of the fact that we need both. The human body, this mammal body with God-given brain, yeah, and free will, etc., intellect, free will, emotions, etc., right? This mammal body needs plant foods for cleansing and animal foods for building. So, when I talk about plant foods, what am I talking about? I'm talking about anything and everything that comes from the plant kingdom. So, we're talking about stems, we're talking about leaves, we're talking about roots, we're talking about flowers, right? We're talking about fruits, right? We're talking about vegetables, all those things. Yeah. When we talk about seeds, the seeds in the plant kingdom, those are really all your nuts, all your beans, all your grains, all your seeds. They're all seeds, right? So when I'm talking about plant foods, I'm talking about plants, leaves, stems, roots, seeds, fruits, vegetables, right? And everything that's made from them. And in this day and age, 2026, you know that there's a lot of stuff being made out of plants, right? And even last week, I talked on this live stream about the difficulty. Let's say it differently, about the narrative, the imperative, the I don't know what you want to call it, the belief that we all need to be eating a lot of plants and that that's what's healthy, right? Last week we talked about plants as carbohydrates, sugar, starch. Yeah. So plants, sugar, starch. And that particular, right? That particular way of eating, those pyramids and those circles and those whatever that have been going around since, I don't even know, the 80s, the 70s, the 60s. Yeah. That reliance, that, what can we call it? That directive that we all should be eating a lot of plants and that plants are better for you than animal foods have really not served our health, as you are aware, right? We know that this huge reliance on plant foods and carbohydrates, sugar, starches, all those things have resulted in horrible things. I can't say resulted directly, but let's just, let's connect the dots here. Let's all eat a lot of carbohydrates, mostly carbohydrates, most of the time, no fat, no protein, and let's see what happened. Do a little research with the human body and the health of the human body, right? So, plant foods, as I said, right? Nuts, seeds, beans, grains, all those things should be like trigger for you, a little bit like bell going off and going, what's the problem? What's the problem? What's the problem with nuts, seeds, beans, grains? No problem if you know how to use traditional cooking techniques. Soak, sprout, ferment, or maybe a combination of them, right? Soak, sprout, ferment. These are traditional cooking techniques used all over the world for, I don't know, hundreds of years since we started figuring it out or looking around or, right? Since we started looking at what are people doing? How are they eating? You know that I'm looking at thinking about Weston Price, Weston A. Price, dentist, Cleveland. The book is Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. He's talking about what makes the human body degenerate, but he also talks about what does the human body need to thrive, to have strength, to be well, right? So whenever we look at what we don't want, things that make us degenerate, things that are malnourishing, things that are hard to digest, we can always flip it and look and see, well, what is it that I do want? What is it that I do need? What is it that my body does need, right? So if you haven't read it yet, folks, grab it. You can actually find a PDF online for free if you don't want to spend the money or go to the library or, whatever. Find a used copy of that big book, Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. It's not a trend. It's not a fad. It's like, how do people eat? How have they eaten all over the world? How have they eaten? What foods are they eating? Right? To be well. And every one of those diets includes animal foods because animal foods are builders. One more time with feeling. Animal foods are builders. Plant foods are cleansers. So, a couple of things I just talked about, right? I just talked about what are the traditional cooking techniques, right, that you can use to help make those foods digestible, to help, what can I say? Open up, unlock their goodness, to make them what we call bioavailable. Bunny ears? Not really. Bioavailable, right? Bioavailable, meaning available to be used by the body. Soaking, sprouting, fermenting. Yeah, that's what can make these plant foods available to the body. Makes the nutrition, the nutrients, the goodness, the things we need to stay well available, right? Those are your traditional cooking techniques, is what we call them. They are all over the Nourishing Traditions cookbook. They're in my book. They are, they are highlighted in Nutrition and Physical Degeneration, etc. So some of the things that are found in plants that are problematic, and it's all over. Just go, we're all zooming. No, we're searching around, right? We're all using the Dr. Web search bar. Maybe it's DuckDuckGo. Let's DuckDuckGo and search to find out, right? Like, what's the problem with plants? So the problems with plants are things like gluten. We know that's a problem already, right? Gluten, phytic acid, enzyme inhibitors, lectins, tannins, oxalates, salicylates. I mean, I could go on and on and on, right? Like, these are the things that have been identified as difficult for the human body to digest and having, what can I say? Difficult reactions in the body. Meaning, when you eat these foods and they're full of oxalates, or they're full of tannins, or they're full of salicylates, or they're full of lectins, what happens? There's a lot of information out there that they cause inflammation. Inflammation. They are inflammatory. Inflammatory. They make, what does that mean? That means that you get to swell up, right? You get to feel inflammatory, flame, hot, heat, right? Maybe your joints get hot and swollen when you eat these foods. Yeah. Tom is always talking about, that's Dr. Tom Cowan, right? Tom's always talking about listen to your body. How are things showing up in your body, right? Like, what's the response in your body, right? So whether or not these things called phytic acid, enzyme inhibitors, salicylates, oxalates, tannins, lectins, etc., right? That's what we call them. We call them anti-nutrients. Yeah. The question is always, how does it make your body feel? How does it feel in your body? In your body, not some test that told you it's a problem. I'm going to say that. But how does your body feel when you eat these foods? Now, one more time with feeling, if you soak these seeds, meaning you soak them in water and salt, sometimes if they're nuts, or water and a neutralizer like what, Monica? Whey, apple cider vinegar. Sometimes it's baking soda. I have a whole chart on that, but in any case, so there's different things that we can add to the water that can help get rid of or neutralize. Been watching too many movies. Take out, transform, change these problems into not problems. Let's just put it that way, right? So you can soak, not just in water, but water plus something, right? You can sprout, fantastic. Body loves sprouted foods. Body loves grains or beans or seeds or nuts that have been sprouted and then cooked, or sprouted and then eaten, or maybe even sprouted and then fermented, right? Sprout. Why? No longer a seed, now a plant. Body says, yes, I can eat a plant. Eat more easily than I can eat a seed, right? So soak, sprout, ferment. People are very familiar on this platform with fermented grains. What are they? Sourdough. We don't talk about it that way, but that's what it is. Sourdough. Yeah. sourdough. So soak, sprout, or ferment, and then these problems or these challenges to the human body, we also call them anti-nutrients, can be transformed into not a problem anymore. Because all of these techniques are traditional cooking techniques. They're traditional techniques, they're pre-digestion techniques, right? They get rid of the problem for us. So, soak, sprout, or ferment, folks. You want to eat a plant, soak it first, sprout it first, ferment it first. Then cook it, or soak it, sprout it, ferment it, then grind it, then bake it, right? Like, what are you doing? So, these are, as I said, are ways that we can work with plants so that our bodies can really get the benefit of the plant, right? The other challenges that plants have, of course, are fiber. Is fiber a challenge? A lot out there. Everybody eat fiber. You got to eat fiber. You got to eat fiber to have a bowel movement. Lie. Oops. Myth. Myth sounds better, doesn't it? Myth sounds better. MYTH. Do you have to have fiber for a bowel movement? No. How do we know that? I know it because of a particular diet called no plant gaps, no plants on the gut and psychology syndrome diet. That's where I was introduced to it, right? You do not need to be eating plants to have a bowel movement. You don't need the fiber. So, number one, you really don't need it. And number two, fiber can be problematic for people. My God, did I say that? I did. Who, Monica? Who? Who? Who would have a problem with fiber? Anyone who has chronic diarrhea. Fiber acts as sandpaper on an open wound. Can, not for everybody, but for people who have chronic diarrhea, people who have ulcerative colitis, God bless them. God bless everybody, sorry. But people who have chronic diarrhea, no plants, please. Take them out. 6 months, 3 months, 2 months, 1 month. Yeah. People who have ulcerative colitis, people who have Crohn's disease, people who have IBS, right? Irritable bowel syndrome, irritable bowel disease now, dis-ease, right? So fiber can be not helpful. Fiber can be harmful to your body if your body is not in a place to be able to handle the fiber. So not everybody should be eating raw plants, folks, meaning salads, right? Not everybody should be eating celery every day, right? Not helpful. Not helpful. Can be not helpful. So I just want to bust that myth for you. Do you have to have fiber to have a bowel movement? No, you do not. What do you have to have a bowel movement? You have to have a liver that's working well, a gallbladder that's working well, right? Bile that's flowing the way it's supposed to be flowing. Yeah. Those are the things. How about some movement? Like let's all go walking, running, somethinging, get that body moving, right? The other piece that I really want to talk about is I've already talked about fiber that can be problematic for some people. Absolutely. Sugar or starch? Absolutely. We've talked about that before, right? Problematic. Yeah. There's a very big difference between the starch and sugar in a potato, high, right? And a mushroom, low. Yeah. Sweet potato, high. Yeah. Zucchini, low. Right? Cassava, high. You like my little tune? Anyway, cassava, high. Plantains, high, right? All these things, high starch, high sugar, high starch, high sugar. Yeah, you could ferment them and add a lot of butter and then eat those potatoes, right? Right? So, high sugar versus low sugar plants, right? High sugar fruits, mango, pineapple. What do you got? Papaya, right? Low sugar fruits, apple, pear, etc. Yeah, remember actually, a fruit is defined as as having seeds in it. So believe it or not, a cucumber is a low sugar fruit. So is a tomato. All right. In any case, so you have a lot of leeway here, folks. You have a lot of play between, okay, I want to eat vegetables, otherwise known as plants. Which ones do I eat? The ones that are low sugar. Or if they're high sugar, let's do something to lower the sugar, soak, sprout, ferment, add a fat, modulate the sugar impact, right? The blood sugar impact. All right. All right. So I just wanted to talk about that. The other piece that I've talked about before, plants. Here's the narrative, right? The current narrative is nobody drink dairy milk. Everyone drink nut milk. Really? Ah, really, folks? Big problem here. So MYLK, nut milk, unless you make it yourself. So if you want to make it yourself, great. Soak, sprout, or ferment those nuts first, then make it into a milk, then drink that. But I would submit to you that the vast majority, 90%, 100% of what you are able to find in the store, if you go to a grocery store, right, organic or not, if you're drinking a nut or seed milk, the biggest one right now out there is oat. Oats are very high in glyphosate, but they're also very, very high in phytic acid, the highest, or one of the highest. Anyway, that's what they say. The point is, nut and seed milks are full of all of these anti-nutrients. They are full of, right? The enzyme inhibitors, the phytic acid, right? All those things. And they are doing nothing to make them digestible for you, meaning the companies that make them, right? So if you want to eat a nut, drink a nut or seed milk, folks, make it yourself. I know I said that. More problems, right? More time in the kitchen. More time in the kitchen. Yeah. Or do more research and find out who might actually be soaking, sprouting, or fermenting those nuts or seeds before they're making them into nut or seed milk for you. Organic is not enough. It's good, but it's not enough. So, one more time with feeling, plant foods versus animal foods. Plants have all of these protective things in them, especially in the seeds, sometimes in the skins, right? All these things that I'm talking about that are very hard on the human body. However, there are ways to make them easier on our body if we'd like to eat them, which is to soak or sprout or ferment or do a couple of those things. All right. So plant foods are cleansers. One more time with feeling. Do we need cleansing sometimes? Yeah, we definitely need cleansing sometimes. In fact, we're going into fall, which is cleansing time to me. Spring and fall, good time to cleanse. Do some juicing. Yeah. Low sugar. Low sugar juicing, right? Yeah. Animal foods are builders, folks. So what I was trying to say is that animal foods, yeah, animal foods are builders. Plant foods are cleansers. Animal foods are builders. Builders. What's in an animal food and what are animal foods? Animal foods, meat, poultry, bird, right? So animal, meat, poultry, fish, eggs of these things, right? Eggs, dairy, right? Beautiful dairy, raw dairy from that fabulous farm down the road. Cultured, cultured into yogurt and kefir, sour cream, cultured cream. Yeah, butter, cheese, right? Organ meats too, right? So since this body of mine and yours and everyone's, certainly pregnant women, oh yo yo, right? Women who are building a new baby in their bodies, yeah, they need a lot of animal foods. A lot, right? So animal foods, right? Animal foods are builders. When you think about the fact that everything in your body is Every cell in your body is dying and being replaced, dying and being replaced. Different rates for different areas of the body, no problem. Different rates for different areas. But in order to make new cells, we need animal foods. We need the collagen, and I'm not talking about powder, folks, right? Collagen from meat stock and bone broth, right? Gelatinous meat stocks, bone broths, right? We need the collagen for this. Skin, hair, right? Esophagus, stomach, small intestine, large intestine. How do we make cells? We need animal foods. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and look at oh, I didn't mention cultured cream. I have a student that's been with me a long time, and she would be really upset if I didn't mention it. So I said things like yogurt, kefir, right? Butter, cultured butter, ghee. These are all animal foods. Yeah. Creme fraiche is her favorite. Cultured cream, creme fraiche, soured cream, sour cream, creme fraiche, right? Cultured cream, et cetera, et cetera. Those are beautiful animal foods. And then, of course, all of the animal fats, right? So butter, ghee. What else? Tallow, lard, right? Tallow, lard, duck fat, chicken fat. Nose to tail, baby. Eat it all. It's good for your body and for your mind. Brain function, fats. All right, so that's today's topic. It's a huge topic. As I said, plants have been, everybody's all about the plants out there, meaning industrial ag is all about the plants out there. The Western medical industrial complex is all about the plants out there. Let's all eat soy. Let's all eat nuts and seeds, nut butters, nut milks, lots of bread, lots of quinoa. Quinoa is also a seed, lots of anti-nutrients in quinoa, folks. It is not your friend unless you soak it or ferment it first and get rid of all the soap that's in the quinoa, right? So we know, at least I hope on this channel and these folks, right? Soy is not your friend unless it is fermented in a traditional way into miso, tempeh, right? Traditional tamari, traditional soy sauce, etc. Natto for sure. Go for it. But we're not doing tofu here. We don't want to do soy oil. That's totally inflammatory, right? And I didn't even go there with seed oils. We'll talk about seed oils another time or now if you have questions, but these are highly inflammatory foods. So the plant agenda has been around for a long time. It's really cheap to grow plants versus animals. Very inexpensive to grow them. All right. So one more time with feeling. This is plant foods versus animal foods. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of pushback on this one. And let's talk about it. What does your body need to thrive? What does your human body need to thrive? What does your mammal body need to thrive? We were built with canines. These are called flesh tearers, canines, and one stomach. One stomach that's very high acid. That makes us at the least omnivores, really carnivores. I'm not talking about go carnivore here, folks. I am talking about have plants in your diet. I'm just trying to illuminate the fact that there are difficulties with plants. There are challenges with plants that were put there so they wouldn't be eaten and digested. How do you like that? Ooh, so, eat plants. Just soak them, sprout them, or ferment them first. And remember that animal foods are builders, and we're constantly needing to rebuild all of the cells in our body, or most of them. Some of them don't get rebuilt or don't get replaced, let's say, very often, but the rest of them really do. So, all right, I'm going to take some questions now. Hello to everyone. Love seeing all my friends coming in from my other pages, Ask the Gap Chef on Facebook and Simply Being Well, Cooking for Well-Being on Facebook, Instagram, whatever. MC Simply Being Well, love seeing all my buds coming on over here. Please do let other people know that I'm here on Thursdays so they can get their questions answered and we can have a lot of fun together. All right. What are your thoughts on Candida? I will get to Candida in a moment. What are my thoughts on Candida? Oh, this could take a long time. Oh, that's okay. Let's talk about it. What are my thoughts about Candida? Hooray! Candida is, first of all, Candida or Candida, say it any way you want, is just one, really. Candida albicans is one strain of yeast that they, with the white coats, have studied enough to know that overgrowth of it can be problematic in the body. A long time ago, when I first started looking at food and well-being, nutrition and well-being, Candida came around early, like the 80s probably, when we really started looking at, oh, it's Candida. You have an overgrowth of Candida. It's Candida. Might be something else. But remember that yeast eats sugar. Yeast loves sugar. So if you have an overgrowth of Candida in the body, they usually come because you've been eating too much sugar. What's sugar? Carbohydrate. What's carbohydrate? Plants, starchy plants, potatoes, potato chips, bread, bagels, pasta. That's my heritage, right? Bread, bagels, pasta, cookies, cakes, sourdough. You having too much, you will have Candida overgrow in your body. So one of the fruit, how much fruit are you eating? 6 to 7 to 8 servings a day? What? Hello? Those things can feed an overgrowth of yeast in the body, one of which is Candida or Candida albicans. And also remember, yeast are the hoovers. That's from Dr. Natasha Kemmel McBride. They are the vacuum cleaners. I'm dating myself with Hoover, but anyway, the vacuum cleaners of the universe, right? We know that yeast clean up toxins. So if you're toxic, you may very well your body may invite a Candida overgrowth to help protect your brain. So if you have a bunch of mercury in your mouth, if you have a bunch of heavy metals or even just toxic metals in your body, remembering that aluminum is not a heavy metal, it's just a metal, if you will, right? So if you have a bunch of toxic metals in your body for whatever reason, my arm hurts. You all know what I'm saying, right? So if you have a bunch of toxic metals in your body, whether it's in your teeth from mercury amalgams, whether it's from your arm being injured when you were a child over and over, yeah, yeast can overgrow for that, and it comes to help protect you and your brain. So one of the things that we know, or I know in my practice, right, is that don't try to blast out the yeast before you get rid of the metal problem in the body, right? You have to take the reason why they're there, which is either heavy metals or you're eating too much sugar before they can go away or balance, if you will, balance out. All right, I hope that's helpful. Let's see. Next. Hello. Saying hello to all my friends. Hello to Cindy and Mariah and whoever these other people are that I don't know. Blessings on your journey, James, everybody else. Okay, symptoms of Candida overgrowth. So again, I'm not a medical doctor, but what I know is it looks like white tongue, right? Stick out your tongue. It's coated with white, not mine, right? So white tongue, that's also known as thrush. That's Candida issue. Jock itch for the men, vaginal yeast infections for the women, groin, right? Like yeast overgrowth in the groin, yeast overgrowth, athlete's foot, jock itch, athlete's foot, right? All these things, those are all Candida. They all point to a Candida overgrowth. I hope that's helpful, right? Okay. What about raw meat versus cooked meat? So please go back and watch my YouTube from last week or my live stream from last week, right? Where I talked about raw versus cooked. So it's there. I have talked about it. Yep. Mr. V was big on raw because heating killed a lot of the enzymes, denatures the protein nutrients, and makes the iron dangerous in the human body. Absolutely, you should eat raw meat once a week. Heard it here, folks. Not really. I mean, right? Weston Price will tell you the same thing. It's all over Sally Fallon's book, Nourishing Traditions, right? Raw meat, it's eaten all over the world, right? So carpaccio, love it. Italian, right? Raw beef, fabulous. Lots of good olive oil, EVOO, Parmesan cheese, capers, love it. Carpaccio, right? That's a raw meat. There's raw meat. People, traditional cultures eat raw meat and raw fish and raw eggs, and we need to also. Yes, because yes, cooking destroys enzymes. Cooking denatures protein. Absolutely true. I talked about this in last week's conversation about dead versus live. So take a look at that. Very good. Yep, you are correct. I'm not sure about the piece that it makes the iron dangerous in the human body. I don't know that. I haven't heard that, so I can't really comment on that. Okay. I have seen quite a few people use tannins in their ferments. Yes, you are correct. All right. Things such as grape leaves and bay leaves, are those problematic in the fermentation process? No, they are not problematic. I just talked about this morning on my GAPS chat because one of my people, one of the members, made cucumbers, pardon me, used cucumbers to make pickles and they became mush. Why? Tannins help to keep the cucumbers, the pickles, nice and crispy. So it doesn't hurt with fermentation. It could be a grape leaf. I just learned from another student that you can use oak leaves from an oak tree. Just make sure you clean them off in case Sammy Squirrel was all over it. Sorry. Bay leaves, yes. Grape leaves, bay leaves, oak tree leaves. I'm not sure what else, but they are high in tannins. Yes. And they will help keep the cucumbers crisp. Yeah. Okay. So it's not problematic at all. It just helps to keep the cucumbers crisp. And if it turns out that you do have mushy pickles at the end of your fermentation, no worries. Do not throw it out. Transform it into relish. Just chop, chop, chop. Transform it into relish. Right? Pickle relish, etc. Fermented relish. No problem. Still good to eat, just not in the form that you thought you were going to eat it. Right? Okay. I hope that's helpful. All right. Jovial, the brand, yes, Jovial brand, excellent brand, has soaked and pressure cooked beans in glass jars. Great stuff. Excellent. I love Jovial. It's a great company. They are using beautiful things like einkorn. Einkorn is a wheat which does not have the gluten problem. It does have gluten. It's just not been hybridized so much or hybridized at all to have massive amounts of gluten in it, right? So Jovial does make beautiful things, and that's a good thing. Check it out, Jovial. We like that brand a lot. Thanks for that. Okay. What about organic commercial coconut milk? Yes. Yes. I talked about this a little bit last week also. You are, yes, organic commercial coconut milk. What are you looking for? Organic is great. Yes. You're also looking for no fillers, right? No fillers. Right now, they're calling that simple. They're calling it simple on the label. It says organic coconut milk simple or organic coconut cream simple. They're now using that word to say, hey, we haven't thrown in a bunch of guar gum, which is exactly what you don't want, right? We don't need the fillers of guar gum. We just want the coconut milk. That's all, or the coconut cream. So yes, you can absolutely have that. I think it's the one alternative milk that I would say yes. And you know what else? It's very good for you. Let's just put it that way. I can say it's high in lauric acid. Um, I can also say that it's also very good for it's very high in fat in a good way. Coconut is great in terms of fat for the human body. And also um, it can also help with bowel movements, believe it or not. Coconut milk, coconut cream, right? Coconut manna, coconut oil, do that coconut thing. Just make sure it doesn't have any guar gum in it, right? We don't want guar gum. There's a couple of good brands out there, but use your eyeballs to really inspect the ingredient list. Really important to do. Hard to find coconut milk or cream without xanthan gum. Well, guar gum or xanthan gum, right? It's usually guar gum, but I don't know. Maybe they were using xanthan also. Here are the brands that are great. Let's Do Organic. Let's Do Organic. They actually make a coconut cream in a block that you can reconstitute with water yourself. It's fantastic. It's a little dehydrated coconut cream in a block. Really good for you. Um, they also make a brand that says Simple. Let's Do Organic, Simple, Simple. That means no fillers. Those are really, really good. Let's see what else. Another brand. You really have to look, folks, because like the vast majority of coconut milk and coconut cream have fillers in them. And we don't need the fillers. Fillers, again, we're talking about keep the starch out, keep the fillers out, keep the stuff that feeds, you know, microbes that we don't want to overgrow, right? Keep it out. So that's one brand I'm clear that's very, very good. And Let's Do Organic. I'm not getting paid by them, but I do love them. They've been around for a long time. And also just look at the label, read the label, be a food detective, super sleuth, find the brands, read the back label, not just the front label. You have to read the back label that says ingredients, colon, la, 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 la. If it says guar gum, it's out of here, right? Okay. Let's see. Having some histamine sensitivities. Suggestions on soaking or sprouting veggies. So I'm sorry to hear that. I would take a moment when you get a chance, anyone, to visit my YouTube channel called Ask the Gap Chef. I'm only sending you there because I have done at least 2, maybe 3, maybe 5 different talks on what is histamine, how does the human body, what's the role of histamine in the human body, and how do we work with food so that it's low in histamine, right? So those things have already been done. It's just a talking head of me. You can just listen to it, but hopefully that would be helpful to you, right? So I would look there. Histamine is not something to be afraid of, folks. Histamine is a normal thing that your body produces, right? Yeah, in response to things in that we eat or we drink or we smell or we get bitten by, right? Histamine is one of the ways that the body moves things, right? It moves things around, histamine. So, yeah. In general, histamine increases in food over time, which means don't eat food that's been around your fridge for more than a week. Some people can't eat it if it's been in the fridge for more than a day. So try some of that out, like how fresh does your food need to be so you're not having strong histamine issues, right? Strong histamine responses, right? Um, the the exception to that, statement I made about how histamine increases in food over time. The exception is anything that's fermented, lacto-fermented, meaning sauerkraut, pickles, ginger carrots, lacto-fermentation, the fermentation done with salt and water, anaerobic, right? That will actually decreases in time. but only if you just use salt and water, not if you add whey. Okay, so sauerkraut, the histamine in sauerkraut and other lactoferments that are made with salt and salt brine decreases over time. So look at that. You may want to put up a bunch of sauerkraut, right? You let it ferment for a week or 2 or 3 or whatever on your counter, and then into the fridge it goes, and you eat it 6 months from now to see how you can do, if the histamine is low enough for you to be eating it. I hope that's helpful. Okay. So really, I just want to kind of wrap that up about histamine. Really, histamine responses, the body, I'll start differently. Food will increase histamine over time unless it's a lactofermented food. Therefore, if you're having problems with histamine response, make sure you're eating food that's freshly prepared. That's really the answer. That's the bottom line. Hope that's helpful. Okay. What about Dr. Cowan's vegetable powders? I love them. How do you use them in your cooking, and do you have a favorite one? Well, okay, so Dr. Cowan's garden. I'm going to go like this. Nope, wrong way. Going to go like that. The C is Dr. Cowan's garden, right? The green C. Dr. Cowan's garden. So I just want to say, this is a little story. I hope nobody minds that I tell you, but way back when, like way back when was that? Was it 2012? Oh, was it 2012? I'd have to figure out when it was. It was 20, no, it probably was 2015. In any case, the point is, in October of whatever that year was, both Tom and I were invited to a conference that a gal was putting on in California about redefining cancer. Like, what is cancer? And how do we work with cancer? And what does the body need, et cetera, et cetera. And Tom and I were both invited, Dr. Tom Cowan, Tom and I were both invited to come. I was invited because I know food. And Tom was invited because Tom's Tom and knows many, 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 many things. Bless him, amazing human. Yeah. And so we were invited to this weekend, like it wasn't a conference. We were talking, it was like a working group. Anyway, so at that time, Tom had just started making the vegetable powders. Woo! Just started. Like, he's like, yeah. I'm like, Tom, what's up? What's going on? La la la. Yeah, I'm making these vegetable powders. They're in mirin glass, right? MIRON, that purple, deep purple, blue purple glass, right? So he's talking about the jars and he's talking about vegetable powders. It was totally fun because it was just the beginning. So I've known about these vegetable powders from the beginning, and from the beginning of Dr. Cowan's garden, which has grown crazy, like in a great way. There's so many clean, amazing, products on there that are super duper, good for you, grown the right way, super nutritious. I mean, amazing things. There's even things like sprouted nuts. Go get them. They're delicious, right? Soaked nuts, sprouted granola. Go for it, right? But the vegetable powders were, again, I got to be in on the early to see what was starting. So what's my favorite vegetable powder? 3-beet powder. The 3-beet powder is my favorite. Why? Because everybody needs to be eating beets. I mean, you want to have a bowel movement? Eat beets. Sorry, I keep talking about bowel movements on this little kitchen thing. But, right, so I love mirin. Thank you. Mirin. No, mirin. Mirin. Doesn't mirin mean, mirin is like I thought mirin was like a sake, mirin. I could be wrong. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. So I love the 3-beet powder. It's beautiful. Sprinkle some on your yogurt, sprinkle some on your cultured cream, right? Put some in your smoothie. I love the 3-beet powder. It is beautiful. The color is beautiful. The color is kind of, I mean, it's more beady than this, but the color is beautiful. The flavor is beautiful. The effect on your body is beautiful. I love the 3-beet powder. I also love the pepper salt. The pepper salt is rocking because it's made of peppers and it's a little bit hot, brings some heat. And I use that usually just as a sprinkle, right? It's a finishing salt to me. The pepper salt is a finishing salt. And then, of course, there are the low oxalate green powders. We've been talking about oxalates, folks. What did I start with? Tannins, oxalate, lectins, blah, blah, blah. These are problems. Go get some low oxalate green powder, sprinkle it in everything. So how do you use them? You add them to your soups, you add them to your stews, you add them to your stock, you add them to your mug. Yeah, you bake with them, right? You make beautiful, you just add them everywhere. I know. Thank you. Yes. Mirin, correct. Mirin is Japanese wine. Miron is the glass. Thank you. That's what I thought. Yes. Can you explain about the jars a little bit more? Yes. So the jars, again, so there's Tom showing me this little Mirin glass jar. I'm probably not going to remember it exactly, but this is something that retains the nutrient value of what's ever in it, like over time, like over decades, maybe over hundreds of years. I thought, I could be wrong, I thought it was the glass jar that was found in like the Egyptian pyramids. I could be wrong. But it seemed to me, at least it hit me that way of like, my goodness, this really retains the nutrient value of whatever's in it over extended periods of time. Now remember, what does light do? Light, air, heat, light and air and heat, light, air, heat. What do? They, right? They destroy oils. They make oils rancid. They make anything that's ground up, dried up. What does mirror and glass do? No light, no air. I don't know about heat, but certainly it's a nice thick glass, right? So don't put it in the sun on your windowsill, but it's protective of the nutrients of whatever's in the glass. So take a look at it. It's pretty fun. No problem. Mirror, mirror, mirror. Okay, what about the low oxalate greens? Yeah, that's what I said. I love them. They are great. Absolutely, this is a great way to get some more chlorophyll, some more green, some more magnesium. Remember, magnesium is the center of chlorophyll molecules. Yeah. I'm just thinking about how Tom's questioning everything these days, so I have to think about what I say. Anyway, so yes, low oxalate greens are a great way to get greens in your body, right? Body loves greens, but oxalates could be problematic. So it's a great thing to use. Yes. Okay, we have Califia Farms unsweetened organic coconut milk. Ingredients are water, organic coconut cream, organic coconut water from concentrate, baking soda. Why baking soda? You don't need baking soda in coconut milk. Sorry. You can use it if you like, but I've never heard of baking soda needed in coconut milk. And oh, by the way, folks, baking soda is alkalizing, and who wants to be drinking alkaline? We could start that conversation up, right? We don't want to be alkalizing our highly acidic stomach. So sounds like it's pretty good. I'll give it a 99 out of 100. I don't like the addition of baking soda, but that's me. All right. Magnesium is everywhere. Yes, magnesium. Why is it in grass-fed beef? Because they eat grass. Where's the magnesium? In the chlorophyll in the grass, right? Yes, absolutely. Great, great, great. I don't know about wild-caught salmon. Maybe they're eating little plants that have green. I don't know. But yay, that's a fabulous thing. Thank you for putting that in the chat. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. What else do we have from the chat? Let's look. Thank you for all you share. You're welcome. It is my joy. Please need your advice on dairy. Would like to eat raw yogurt, but afraid because have been sick so many times with raw cheese. Sorry, I've been sick. We want people to be well, right? So, let's see. So let me think about how to talk about this. Couple of things. Raw dairy, as we all know, which we love, raw dairy is very potent with live beneficial bacteria. So if someone has never had raw dairy, this may not be you, but if someone has never had raw dairy, they've never had it, never drunk it as milk, they want to bring it in very slowly, take a sip, put it down. Take 2 sips, but don't drink 8 ounces of raw milk if you've never had it, because you will vomit or throw up. That's the same thing. Vomit or throw up. You may have diarrhea. You may have a lot of fatigue. Remember that beneficial bacteria can cause die off, can cause you to have fatigue, all sorts of things if you're not used to it. So, whenever you bring anything raw from raw dairy into your diet, take a sip. You're done. Make the yogurt, raw yogurt. Make the raw kefir. Make the raw cultured cream. Yeah. Culture it long. I always say culture it long, 24 hours or longer. 24 hours is good. And then what? Take a sip or a teaspoon or a bite, right? You do not want to be You do not want to be eating a lot of it if you're not used to it. It just, that's part of, I've said it for years. I've said it for 20 years, right? Part of why raw milk gets a bad rap out there. Oh, I drank raw milk. I tried it. I got sick. Yeah, that's because your stomach, we'll say microbiome, your body is not used to drinking raw milk. And so when you bring in a whole 8 ounces, 12 ounces, 16 ounces, whatever, of raw milk for the first time, you're going to have a response. Your body, if you're not used to eating live foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, yogurt, and you go drinking raw milk, you're going to have a response, meaning you could throw up. In fact, you probably will. So don't start there. Start with a teaspoon, start with a sip, right? That's where we start. And lactose is sugar. Anything that ends in OSE is a sugar. Lactose is a sugar found in milk. And when you culture the raw milk long into yogurt for 24 hours, into kefir for 24 hours, into, right, if it's the cream, into cultured cream for 24 hours, then you are, the microbes are pre-digesting the lactose. So you don't have to worry about it. There's no sugar in that. Hope that's helpful. Okay, so yeah, I thought the baking soda was weird too, but 99 is an A plus, LOL. Yes, you've got a 99% is an A plus. I'm telling you. I wonder how much baking soda is in there anyway. Makes things that make you go, right? That's one of them. Okay. Introducing our vegetable powders starter kit from Dr. Cowan's Garden, featuring 100 ml, right? 100 ml Myron violet glass jars of some of our most popular powders. DCG starter kit is on sale. My God, DCG starter kit for vegetable powders is 50% off. Do it. Let's do it. We could talk about how to use them again, but yeah, what a great way to get more of the nutrients from the plants. Yeah, without the problems. Yeah, into your diet. I love that. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right. Okay, folks, we are at time. Can you believe it? We're at time. All right. We are at time. We are at time. Thank you for joining me here today. Hope it was fun. Fun for me. Hope you enjoyed it. And I hope you learned something and that this was helpful to you. Yeah. And remember, plant foods are cleansers. Animal foods are builders. Let's make sure that we are having what we need for our own body, right? Listen to your body. Okay. You are so, so welcome, everyone. And we'll hopefully see you next week. Yeah. So again, same time, 2:30 Eastern, same channel. Dr. Cowan's Garden. If you liked it, subscribe and tell all your friends so that we can keep this going. Okay. Be well, everyone. Blessings on your journey, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.